Welcome to the Suck My DFS podcast presented by the Game House. Yes, I am still Braxton and Will. I might sound like Patrick Mahomes with my disgusting voice, but you know what? It's what you get this time of year. I'm still joined by the coach, Will Shearholtz. What's up?
Not much, man. Just going over in my head all those crazy football games that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about how, especially how last night's game, the Monday night game was not great. Some of the afternoon games were not great, but I think overall it was a pretty exciting weekend.
It was absolutely exciting. I mean, we talk about Miami and that finish against New England, and then a bunch of teams that were never supposed to win this week, and it was kind of crazy. It was a crazy week.
Yeah, it was crazy week. Okay, so let's do a little update on your fantasy stand. I know you're in the you're in the playoffs in the Game House League. You had a nice built up league. What does this next week look like for you?
You know what?
You sounded a little worried pre-show.
I built up a 60-point lead. There's no way I should lose. 60 points going into one more week to go for this round of the playoffs. I should feel great. But the problem is my roster, just the way it is right now, because I don't have James Conner unless he plays, is not as strong as the opposing team. So I feel okay. I'm really worried about my running back play because I'm starting James White, who did nothing. Now I think he's going to be more relevant against Pittsburgh than he was against Miami. And I'm also starting Gus Edwards, who has not been able to get in the end zone. His volume's still good, but they used Kenneth Dixon near the goal line this last week. Kenneth Dixon had 8 carries. So I like Gus Edwards, but at the same time, I need him to get in the end zone to get me some points. So if I'm only getting 12 points out of my running back situation,
totals, that's full.
I can't rely on Amari Cooper to score me 40 every week. So.
Hey, at least you got that one game in. That had to be something else.
That was awesome.
For me, in 4 leagues this year, made the playoffs in 2 of 4, got bounced in one of them. It was weird. I didn't even notice. This is on me for not paying more attention, but I assumed that all the leagues run by the Game House were the playoffs are 2 weeks apiece. The first round of the playoffs 1 week. So I lost. I clearly had the better team, but I lost. I'm God, that sucks. When you just you're not plugged in, so that's on me. But no, in the championship league, in my home league, playing against my best friend, I've already put out on Twitter, I've congratulated him for taking second place. I can't wait to take home this prize money. So I will inevitably just get my head smashed in the finals, because whenever you talk shit preemptively, it never ends well. Ask the Eagles, right? Are the Eagles the best? Are the Eagles the best example of why you don't talk shit?
Yes, they are. Who's the leading scorer on that team that you've guaranteed a victory in?
Just in general?
Yeah.
I would say as of late it's been Eric Ebron.
No, who's your best player?
Oh, my best player is Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara is probably going to have a 3-point outing, just irrelevant.
He almost did this weekend,
I know, which is crazy.
And it's part of my takeaways. This is just not good. But I want to do something a little bit like we did last week. We'll get to it in a sec. I want to talk about the firing of DiFilippo. I don't like it. I get that Zimmer is all about, he's a defensive guy. He wants to run the ball, establish that. And I actually think DiFilippo is good. But this is what happens when you just don't see eye to eye with a head coach.
Yeah, and Zimmer is a really hard-nosed guy. He's cut to the chase, cuts his kicker after 1 week if he doesn't kick well.
Gives no shit.
It's just the kind of coach he is. He's a good coach, but obviously he wanted to run the ball more, and DiFilippo wasn't really willing to commit to the run as much as he wanted to. So I agree. I think DiFilippo's – people talk about DiFilippo as being a head coaching candidate a lot of places. So,
I thought he was good. Now, they don't have a good offensive line there.
You know what's going to be interesting is he's probably going to go back to the Eagles now, I would guess, as a special assistant. It's going to be interesting to see.
Oh, because they need help offensively.
Exactly.
They've started to look better, but they need some help.
It's going to be interesting to see. The Eagles are still in it, especially with Minnesota falling last night. They're a half game behind Minnesota. So, you never know. They still are the Super Bowl champion from last year. I don't have any faith in the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't
don't have any faith in the Vikings either.
Absolutely, yeah, no.
So Seattle to me is
is
clearly in.
Yeah.
And then the Panthers can't win, so I don't think they're going to get in.
They can't. They have 2 games against the Saints. They're not winning both of those.
No way.
Which they'd have to do.
They need to do it. So you're looking at either Philadelphia or Minnesota.
God, is there no one else? Like, there's no one else?
There's no one else. I mean, the Redskins are also 6-7. They're obviously not going to be able to do anything. Yeah, no one.
Okay, yeah. All right, so what I wanted to get to, we did something last week I thought was funny and eye-opening, talking about guys who we drafted who are not on our rosters. Okay, I want to do a transaction. Let's review some of the transactions we made during the season. I need your help. I cannot find. How do I get here? How do I get to the transaction page?
You go to the
more tray encounter.
No, that's what I thought it was.
What?
Maybe it is.
Okay, this is excellent. This is podcast gold here.
No, that's the transaction counter.
Okay, where are you at?
I went to more, and I have transaction.
Oh, you're under my team. You're under my team. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Transaction. All right, you kick it off because you had the team that was decimated, and you had to turn over almost your whole roster.
I'll just start off by saying I have picked up and released Carlos Hyde and Rashad Penny about 3 times throughout the course of the year. Both of them. I had so many different transactions, but early in the year, my best transaction by far, right after the draft happened, but I picked up James Conner, obviously as a handcuff. And then, James White I picked up, and I dropped LeGarrette Blount off my roster, who I had also picked up earlier in the season. This is all within the first month. And then after that, there's a bunch of irrelevant moves. But I picked up Jared Cook September 26th. He's been my starting tight end all season. He's been fantastic. Players that are completely irrelevant, but we talk about getting movement on our roster. But, added Philip Dorsett early because he looked good, dropped him. Added Josh Doxson, dropped him.
Yeah.
Added Rivers as a backup quarterback for a brief time. And I think I started him for actually 1 week, maybe during camp spot, dropped him. Defenses, revolving door, Titans D, Browns D, Redskins D. Who else did I have? Dallas's D now. Texans D. I've been all over the board with defenses just based on matchups. And then best thing for me that happened all season from a trade standpoint, but in October I traded Carson Wentz and Demaryius Thomas for T.Y. Hilton. Really shored up my receiving core. I would not be in the playoffs
without T.Y.
There's no doubt about it.
Especially if you had to have that game where Wentz put up like 4 points against the Saints. You have been done.
Yep.
Done. For me, it's a little bit different. I didn't have quite as bad luck as Will did. It's my draft. Something that's just been a revolving door for me was tight end because I had Delaney Walker, and very early in the year, Delaney Walker just got his knee ripped up, and that was it. So I went from Delaney Walker to David Njoku to O.J. Howard to Jordan Reed to Vance McDonald. Right now I have Reed, and Reed put up a 0 for me last week, which was excellent. I got Antonio Gates. I've got Hayden Hurst. I've got Cameron Braid. I've got all these guys who you just had to keep plugging. Austin Hooper. He was actually good the week I picked him up, which was excellent. C.J. Uzomah. It's just I've added O.J. Howard again, dropped him for Austin Hooper. It was a revolving door at tight end. I had no security at tight end. A couple of deals I made. Big one I thought was going to be good for me. Made it before the Miami game where the Bears played the Dolphins. I traded Alex Collins and Kenny Stills for Jordan Howard. It's a good trade, but it's not been great for either person. Howard really, really underwhelmed that particular week. And then I parlayed Howard into another trade. I traded Jordan Howard and Tyreek Hill for Melvin Gordon. It's been good for me because I had Julio Jones. I have a guy who's consistently getting me, high-end wide receiver 1. I needed help at running back because Fournette was on this team, and that's been just completely brutal. I've had a lot of stability here. So it's not a great example. Yours is better where you're just churning out your roster. I remember one of the more laughable moves I had last year and last season was getting rid of Alvin Kamara in week 3. That did not end well for me.
It's a real shame. Real shame that you dropped Kamara.
I drafted with the last pick of my draft and then couldn't just so it's okay. That shit happens every year though. But hey, before we get into movers and shakers, Our top five takeaways of Week 14. Will, what is your number 5?
Number 5 for me, it's after watching last night's game, but Kirk Cousins just doesn't have it. He does not have that it factor. It's been something that I've kind of come to a conclusion on based on the last however many years he's been in the league.
Yeah.
He just, comes down to the fourth quarter, and a guy that you really want to carry your team, Kirk's just not been that guy. He's not like Andrew Luck. Where, if Luck's down in the fourth, or like Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
If Russell Wilson's down in the fourth, you want him to have the ball in your hands.
Exactly.
In his hands. I just don't see that with Cousins. I know last night was just a grind of a game because Seattle's defense played that well.
Yeah, they got some calls too.
But, man, Minnesota had a chance.
They sure did.
And they just could not capitalize.
Yep.
And a lot of that falls on Kirk Cousins' shoulders, in my opinion. So when they're in the playoff hunt and you're playing a team that's also in the playoff, another wild card team, that's a game that you got to find a way to grind out and win. And Kirk Cousins just could. And as bad as Russell Wilson played, he got it done. And you know why he got it done? He had a 40-yard run near the end of the game that really just
puts highest rushing performance of the year. I think had over 70 yards rushing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just finds a way to get it done. And usually Cousins is a guy who's a little bit more mobile than people give him credit for, but wasn't on display last night. My number 5 takeaway is a little bit more general. Where are the beat reporters? I specifically mean this with injuries. Jameis Winston, his knee is done. I don't care what anyone says. Dude, if you're wondering why you rostered Chris Godwin in DFS and he had 1 catch on 10 targets, it's because Jameis Winston's knee is not right. I mean, he played the entire second half. When you have Fitzpatrick, you need to get that guy in there because I don't care what anyone says. It was not right. And what did we talk about last week ago? Cam Newton's hurt. Didn't hear anything about it until Wednesday. He's dealing with some soreness, contemplating surgery after the year, but that was pretty much it. But Odell Beckham, out of nowhere on a Saturday, quad, done. And then it's he's been dealing it for weeks. Where are these people not doing their jobs? This is where you get a huge edge on just watching the freaking games. Watching the games, knowing that, hey, Cam's not 100%. Or, hey, man, I'm not touching Winston in seasonal or DFS, even though there's no questionable tag next to him, because that guy's not right. You can get an edge on people, whether it's a day early in waiver wire and then it's picked up. I mean, just these beat reporters they're only serving as mouthpieces for these teams. Also with the James Conner injury, they wanted to say it was it was I forgot what they tried to categorize. It's a hamstring. No, that was his ankle. You could just watch and see it's his ankle. This is a huge disservice to us, but you get a real edge if you're watching the games and you see this shit happen in real time.
I agree. I haven't seen nearly as much news throughout the week on injury reports and things like that. It's kind of, I don't know what's going on.
And it's not even I get if a team doesn't want to tell you something, but if you're the beat reporter, you're at the game watching. How about a tweet hey, looks like somebody fell on his ankle funny. At least do something. Not even do nothing. It's like an anchor man. Even the guy who can't think says something. You just say nothing. A lot of beat reporters out there not doing their job. But let's get into movers and shakers. Talking about guys in each position we have moving out, moving down based on last week or a string of performances. Will, quarterback, what you got?
I've got Goff down. Obvious reasons here. 4 picks against Chicago on a cold night in Chicago. McVay didn't do him much.
That's horrendous.
It was bad play calling. Gurley wasn't nearly as involved as he should. He got 5 touches in the first half and only ended with 11 carries. I mean, it was a close game the entire way through. There wasn't a lot of scoring. Just try to pound the rock against a good defense on a cold night and tough place to play. But Goff is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the worst when he's under pressure. Did you know that?
I did not. I did not know the numbers.
I think he might actually be the worst, which you get to the playoffs, that is not who you want to be at the quarterback position. And they go under center more than any team in the NFL, and they run play-action pass. Well, if you can get pressure, play-action pass takes a long time to develop.
Yeah.
So, it's good because it sucks the defense in. You can go over the top. But, man, you got to have time to make that work. So, I've got Goff moving down. I've got the Rams moving down. But, I don't know. What do you think?
And here's the difference between the Rams and the Chiefs. The Rams and the Chiefs both have really great schemes. They have great guys who are designing and calling these plays. But the difference is the Chiefs have 2 matchup nightmares, and the Rams have 0.
Yep.
I mean, they have Todd Gurley, but it's not as if it's a one-on-one every play.
For sure.
The Chiefs have Kelsey and Hill. And now, Cooks is like Tyreek Hill, but not in the way that McVay uses him. They don't use him the same way that Kansas City does. It's creative with all these motions and sweeps and running him open. I mean, they're not quite on that level. So what separates the Rams and the Chiefs is the Chiefs have two guys who you just cannot cover. You won't be able to cover both Kelsey and Hill and get through the day. But with the Rams, now that Kupp is gone, it's Robert Woods, who's a good receiver, and Cooks, who's, I would say, a very good receiver. But when you're the Bears, you're like, dude, this is nothing. Like, we have the horses up front to get pressure and the guys in the back end to run with you. So, yeah, I think it's a problem that the Rams have, and if they see the Saints again or even the Cowboys, that's going to be an issue.
Yeah,
that's going to be an issue. Quarterbacks, I actually have a bunch of quarterbacks. Moving up, it was nice to see Tom Brady get it done.
He played great.
He did. Derek Carr, to his credit, despite all their efforts, like, he's playing well. Then I got to give Andrew Luck love coming off that horrible performance in Jacksonville.
And early in that
oh
first
my
half,
God. I was looking at DFS. I'm like, why is there a 0? Eric Ebron, why is there a 0?
He was bad.
Real bad.
He threw kind of a bad pick, too, and then, to his credit, just came back and dominated the rest of the game.
Dude, you said the difference between a guy like Cousins and Luck. Like, Luck can bounce back from that. Luck can figure out a way to make that work. And some guys can, some guys can't. Moving down, there's a bit of an asterisk. I'm not worried about Russell Wilson, but as my quarterback in the championship I'm contending for, you bet your ass, if I can make a move to not compromise my roster, I'm going to get a second quarterback this week. I'm going to try to get Dak Prescott. Hell, I might even try to get Josh Allen because the rushing is just 3 straight 100-yard rushing games. My God, like, that's insane. Also, this how it popped in my head. Do you think the Ravens will be better with Josh Allen, like a similar runner, but a guy who can just chuck bombs with people like John Brown on the Ravens roster? Like, do you think they'd be any better or worse or just the same if they had Allen instead of Jackson?
I tend to think they would be a little bit worse just because he's not the same kind of runner.
Yeah.
It would be kind of a different style because when you say about like throw the ball deep, yeah, because you keep running the ball, like the deep ball is going to be open. The problem is they try to pound the rock when they had Flacco. And I know it's not the same type of run, but it's not like they had success down the field with Flacco.
Right. It's all about would they treat him the same as Lamar where they have read options like is the base. Like, and I think you are right about that. Like, even though he has rushing ability, it's not like these are scripted runs. It's him on play action, like stepping up and saying, nope, done, I'm going to run now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 3 straight 100-yard games. It's nuts. I did not realize he was that good of an athlete.
I'd be kind of interested to see what it looks like on the Bears.
Like a supersized Mitch Trubisky.
Except he can actually throw the ball downfield. And Trubisky really can't.
So that's interesting. A couple other guys. Ben Roethlisberger, I'm just not here for it. This guy picks and chooses his spots to get hurt. And this is not when I question a guy's effort. This is just what we've seen over his career. Like, if he feels like playing and being the quote-unquote like hero of the game, he's going to play. But, I mean, like, at what point... Because he missed multiple series in the Steelers game and decided to come back in, apparently. Like, as a player, you're either told to go back in or you're told that you're not, like, you're done. Like, if you can't do this, you're done. You don't get that option of, like, hey, let's see how it feels in 2 or 3 series. Like, no, if you can go, you got to go. So I got Ben moving down. I am not excited about him and his team moving forward. And then clearly Cousins. But you know what? I don't need to spend time moving on doing that. We can just move on. Running backs, moving up, moving down, Will.
Well, Dalvin Cook's stock can't be any higher.
I totally agree.
With DeFilippo gone, Zimmer's going to pound the rock. And he
finally looks like he finally looks good.
He looks good. He had a couple plays called back last night, too, for penalties that were, like, really good runs. So I love Dalvin Cook. You want to elaborate on that at all?
No, not really. I mean, this is a guy who, and let's remember, he had that injury, I believe his senior year, that caused him to get to the second round. Maybe it wasn't during his senior year, but during his time in college, he had an injury. He got injured as a rookie. I mean, this is probably the healthiest he's felt in a while, and he looks good. He looks explosive. Like, he's catching the ball. He's making guys miss. So, yeah, if I'm a Cook owner, I am super high about this.
So the other one, and it's not really difficult to figure out, but Derrick Henry after that night, Derrick Henry makes the Titans collectively look stupid after that night. Because he's just not been involved, and they've continuously tried to force Deion Lewis in the run game, Deion Lewis was a great Patriot. When are people going to figure this out?
The Patriots are not good outside of New England.
They're not good outside of New England. Deion Lewis does not fit outside of New England. Danny Woodhead did not fit outside of New England. He kind of did with the Chargers because he had Phillip Rivers, who knew briefly how to use him. Tennessee tried to force Deion Lewis in there when they should have been pounding the rock with Derrick Henry all season.
And Derrick Henry is not a timeshare guy. He is not effective in yards per carry, but God damn it, that guy will wear down a defense.
Exactly.
When his sweet spot is 16 to 25 carries.
Yes.
That's what he's going to do because he's not efficient yards per carry because his build, he has the longest legs of any running back I've ever seen. So he's going to have negative runs. He's going to have a lot of 0-yard runs, but he's really athletic in terms of his high-end speed and his strength. So if you give him the opportunity to break it, he will. Like we saw that last year. He had multiple 60-yard runs in the fourth quarter because that's who he is. Mm-hmm. And I think you're absolutely right. They just whiffed on the usage, and I do think Lewis can help them win and be productive, but not as the guy.
No, he's a third down back. Just let him be in the game and short where you can use him in the pass game. You don't have to hand the ball off to him 10 times.
Use him exactly how they use James White because and I think that it should be more like how the Saints use both Kamara and Ingram, but even they have shown they are straying from that. Get both of them on the field together, get Lewis in the slot because. If you have two backs in the field, a linebacker is going to cover him, and he's a problem for a linebacker. So just use the guys. I don't know. Maybe we just clearly because we're not involved in the NFL at some level, how the hell is this not more apparent earlier in the season?
That's what I really struggle to understand. I know it's one game, you can say what it is, but
it's not even about the performance. It's about the usage.
Yes.
It's about the usage. Okay. I have Joe Mixon moving up. With Jeff Driscoll, no A.J. Green, and the third string left tackle, they're giving him the rock, and he's making it work. He's gonna be really good. I feel like he'll be a second-round pick in next year's draft because, regardless of the quarterback,
he might be a first.
They're gonna feature him. He might be. He
might sneak in there.
He might be. I love. Mixon this week gets Oakland at home. Let's pound this at 7,800.
I like that game from a fantasy standpoint.
I think there are options. I think what I've done in initial builds. Mixon at RB1, RB2, Jared Cook at tight end.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And then moving down, I have Aaron Jones. Guess what, guys? Who was right about Mike McCarthy? Him leaving is not going to magically solve their problems. When you have a bad offense and you're he's going to call the plays. He's calling good plays, but they're all bad. He's just calling the best of the bad plays. So, and Philbin, we did our podcast, and the next thing we find I hadn't called plays since 96. Are you kidding me? Hasn't called an offense since 96 or whatever it was. My God, that's unacceptable.
96, were they running fullback dive?
That's like having a president who's 90, a vice president who's 90 years old. He has what are you doing? The president's 90, and then the vice president is dude actually hasn't done stuff in 20 years. What are we doing here? It's irresponsible from a management structure to let that happen. But guys I have moving down, Garrett said Aaron Jones, and then I'm not going to lie, I have Spencer Ware moving down just because this is uncharacteristic, the usage of two backs like this, and he couldn't get one of the touchdowns. If he gets one of the touchdowns, I don't care, but I don't know what the pattern is or how they're deciding to use these guys, but man, he played really well against the Ravens, just didn't get the touchdowns.
So, I agree. He looked
good.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Damian Williams because Damian Williams in his limited time looked okay too. But Ware looked kind of like a workhorse, and they didn't give him the ball near the end zone, which kind of sucks.
It sucks. But you have games like that.
Yeah.
Ask the New England I'll ask you as a New England running back owner.
James Devlin got in the end zone again.
And then on the other side, the Brandon Bolden revenge game.
2 carries and 2 touchdowns?
50. What was a 50-yard touchdown too?
Oh my
God.
Gosh.
Okay, wide receivers moving up, moving down. I'll be quick because I talked a lot. Ty moving up, Diggs moving up. It's very easy. And on the other side, I got Thielen down. I'll let you talk about that. And I have Beckham moving down because you may not have him. They're out of it. They might just shut him down with the quad.
I could definitely see that.
So you talk about your guys.
I've just got Amari Cooper listed again. I mentioned him last week, but how could you not? He leads the NFL in receiving since his trade. Receiving yards.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
He's been fantastic. And
real quick, these shoes are sick.
Thank you.
Where'd you get these
Team
slew
shoes.
issued? God,
Team
you
shoes.
son of a bitch. Being a college coach, getting all that swag, man, that's awesome.
Just to touch on the Diggs moving up, I totally agree, and I totally agree on Thielen. Thielen, I can't stand watching Adam Thielen play anymore.
What'd you tell me pre-show?
He's a little bitch. He's so whiny. I can't watch him play. So, you know what? Where's he from? Minnesota State. Go back to Minnesota State.
And this is not, I mean, he could still be a good player, but this is the difference. We talked about it last week. Real life, top 5, top 10 receivers. Fantasy, top 5, top 10 receivers. It's a huge difference.
Yep.
I mean, I guess my example was DeAndre Hopkins or Adam Thielen. Hopkins got shadowed, and I didn't think Pierre Desir from the Colts is worth shadowing, but guess what? He got shadowed, wasn't getting a whole lot of targets, but then he came through with the touchdown, beat the guy. Like, that's what you have to do. And Thielen can't do that when he's the guy in the offense. Like, if he's the focus of the defense, he's not going to produce. That's just a difference.
I agree.
All right. Tight ends. Ian Thomas.
Yep.
Like, not only did he play, but
Good call.
Cam targeted him, and, like, it worked.
He had like 9 catches.
I know. Moving down, though, Chris Herndon. Oh, my God, Chris Herndon. I mean, and this is more about Darnold. Like, how bad Darnold looks horrendous.
Yep.
So bad. I know there's not much around them, and their offense, their head coach is a defensive guy, but shit, man. Like, and the dude can't even stay healthy. Like, at least Rosen and those guys have stayed healthy. So, Herndon is just another, coin flip at tight end.
Yeah, I just want to mention George Kittle because he had a 200-yard receiving game.
Oh, my God.
I mean, didn't he have like a 180-yard receiving game earlier in the season, too?
He had a big game. How about this? All of his yards in the first half. Not a single catch or anything in the second half.
That's unbelievable. George Kittle. Wow.
I think Kittle's good.
No, I agree.
Objectively, I think he's good. And I mean, if you get a quarterback who's going to target him, he's going to be really good. So there it is. All right. Before we get into waiver wire discussion, and because it's not like they're automatic. There are a couple must go get guys, but this is more talking about how you approach it this late in the season. Before we do that, number 4, number 3 takeaways from Week 14. Will.
I just want to briefly touch on the Miami Miracle as my number 4 takeaway. Number 1, that was a horrendously coached game by the Patriots, which you cannot say very often.
Right.
But that one was, from their defensive game plan to making adjustments defensively to the last play of the game, having your prevent defense in there and Gronk on the field when Miami cannot throw the ball to the end zone.
No.
Why would you have somebody on the field to bat the ball down when the throw cannot reach the destination?
Right.
You knew that was a possibility that he was going to have to go make a tackle. And guess what? Because he was on the field, you lost the game because he could not make a tackle. And it's not his fault.
No.
At all. He didn't take a good angle. Guess what? He's never had to do that in his life.
Not since he got in the NFL, like maybe special teams in college and high school, but since he's been in the league, he's not doing special teams drills or tackling drills. Yeah, I agree. I think that's less about Gronk, more about why was Gronk there in the first place. So, yeah, number 3 for you.
I have more faith in the Bears to win the Super Bowl than I do the Rams. I touched on Goff earlier. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't think anybody that can't handle
Not yet, at least.
Not yet. I don't think anybody that can't handle pressure well, not like outside pressure, but pressure in game from blitzers and things like that. That you're going to have a lot of trouble winning in the playoffs. I'm not saying Trubisky is significantly better, but Trubisky brings legs as upside, so he can escape pressure and create. And plus, the Bears' defense is just suffocating.
Yeah,
they're unbelievable. So that's why I'm just really. It's more about me being down on the Rams than me being up on the Bears. And I use these two teams because they played each other. But that's how I see it right now. I like the Bears as a Super Bowl team better than I like the Rams.
No, I think that's totally viable. I remember this was weeks ago. My takeaway after the Chiefs and Rams games is neither of those teams are making the Super Bowl. Now, I could be wrong on Kansas City, but it just shows you. Now, it'll lead into one of my takeaways later. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
My number 4 takeaway is the same thing, to stop messing around with their opponents. They have been playing down the competition the last 2 weeks, and they got bailed out in Tampa Bay because Jameis Winston got hurt. And they got exactly what they deserved in Dallas, was to get dominated and lose. And this has also cost Breeze in the MVP race as well. I mean, it's pretty much done now. And what we love about the Saints is their narrow tree in fantasy. It's like it's Michael Thomas, it's Mark Ingram, and it's Alvin Kamara. Why are we wasting our time with Keith Kirkwood, Austin Carr, like Josh Klein? Like, what are we wasting our time for? And Taysom Hill getting 7 snaps? Why? I mean, you cannot tell me that taking Drew Brees off the field gives you a better success rate, whether it's converting the third down or whatever the objective of that play is. I find it very hard to believe that taking Brees off the field increases your chances, because that's essentially what's being told to us. Like, no, in this situation, we prefer Hill over Brees. And I think it's not. I think if you ask Sean Payton, I'd be like, no, I don't think that. And then the follow-up question is, why are you doing it in the first place then?
The Saints worry me moving forward from the standpoint of, because it is that narrow tree. If you can find a way to take, certainly you can find a way to take one of those guys out of the game. Say you take Michael Thomas out of the game, away from the game, which I think you can, and you can make them beat you with
scrubs,
Tommy Lee Lewis. That's what worries me, because they don't have that many guys that can like step up and make a big play for them. They've just got those 3.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot less. I don't know if it's guys aren't making plays that you made early in the season. We've seen a lot less scheming guys open. I mean, I remember earlier Kamara be just wide open on plays.
Yeah.
Maybe teams have adjusted or Sean Payton's gotten away from what he's been doing, but it seems like there's a lot less of a effort to scheme their best players open, which I think you always have to be doing, because the other guy's job, the defensive coordinator, is how do we shut down these 3 guys? Your job needs to be, how do we make sure our best players are getting open, put in the best position to succeed? So, I don't know. They got to stop messing around. Number 3 takeaway. We never should have doubted Baker Mayfield. And I don't want to do a whole lot of narratives, because I didn't buy into the narrative with Aaron Rodgers this year, but it's also over 1 year. Baker Mayfield has never, ever failed despite not being believed in. It is unreal. He looked like the better quarterback between him and Cam, and I know Cam's hurt, but...
No, I agree. I totally agree.
We never should have doubted Baker. I remember talking with our head editor. I talk about a lot, Joe DiTullio at the Game House, and I'm like, if I'm picking the team, I'd probably draft Darnold, and then I'd draft Mayfield. If Darnold wasn't there, like, what has everyone else shown me? Especially if I'm the Browns, like, you need a guy who's a little crazy to take that team out from where it's been, because
he's the perfect guy for them.
He really is, and we never should have doubted Baker Mayfield. I think, dude, the Browns are going to contend next year for the playoffs and probably for a Super Bowl the year after that. I could see in 2 years, AFC Championship game, Colts-Browns.
I'm worried that they're going to ruin it with their head coach hire.
Do you think they're just? I mean, why would they not just keep the same guy there?
Greg Williams.
Yeah. Do you not?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, okay. Would you prefer that? Because just
probably
keep it the same way.
What they've got rolling, and it seems like he's got a good rapport with Baker Mayfield.
And Kitchen seems like he's doing good, understanding the guys he has.
The problem is Greg Williams passed, because he's the guy that gave out bounties,
bounty gate and shit like that.
And I'm not saying that's going to play into their decision, but I don't know. Is he the leader of men that you really want?
I would say my argument would be it's Baker who plays that role, because Hugh Jackson clearly is just not that guy.
Yeah.
Not that guy. And I mean, you can have a coach who can be like the X's and O's guy and the operations and all that shit, and you can have your quarterback be that, which is I think how the best teams operate. Like, I don't think Sean Payton is clearly advanced. We're talking about on the field and adjustments, but Drew Brees is the emotional rock and the emotional reader for everyone. So I think that's kind of how the best teams operate, in my opinion. Now, there are places like Belichick where everyone just you follow Belichick no matter what, regardless of who the quarterback is. But it helps having Brady. I think that's kind of the missing link. Like, the leader, the emotional leader, needs to be the quarterback, and the logical guy needs to be the head coach, in my opinion. So hopefully that works for him, because I want to see the Browns be good. I want to see Baker be good.
Me too.
Let's get into waiver wire, some general discussion. There's some obvious guys to go get, Justin Jackson. I mean, he was probably picked up last week because the pickings are so slim, but Eckler is out for sure. And last time I checked, Gordon's still questionable, so shit. You get Justin Jackson against the Chiefs? That sounds good to me.
No brainer.
Other things, I guess, Spencer Ware is technically questionable. Damian Williams, if you don't have him already. What else? You know what? You're actually prepared for this segment. This is the second week in a row I've come to the podcast unprepared for the segment, so I'm going to let you talk.
Just to stay on the running back side, I mean, Elijah McGuire is only 11.3%.
Crowell didn't practice today.
So he got 17 carries last week against Buffalo, got in the end zone, so he's an obvious choice. But honestly, especially if you're in a PPR league, I'm looking at Darren Sproles as actually being an okay play.
Yeah, like they're using him a lot.
He since his return, he's played
Clement
2 games.
sprained knee.
He's averaging 9 points. So if you see his workload go up a little bit,
and against the Rams, that's going to go up.
Exactly, and that's because you know that it's going to be more of a shootout.
PPR only though. What about half point? Would you take a stab at half?
It depends on how limited you are. If you've got some injury issues or something.
You personally, with your running backs, let's say Connor doesn't go.
I wouldn't because I've got Gus Edwards and James White, and I still like those options better.
Yeah.
I'd rather play a receiver because I'm going to play Curtis Samuel at my flex. But it's close. Like, if you actually look at the numbers, Darren Sproles is averaging better over the last few games, so maybe I should take a look at Sproles. But I'm going with the upside. Yeah. Curtis Samuel's going to be on the field more.
Right, and be good, like projected game flow against the Saints. Like, you're going to want that guy on the field.
So I like those guys. Receiving court.
Conley. Has to be Conley with Hill's, questionable health. And I mean,
unbelievably, Dante Pettis is still only 19.6% owned.
Right.
He scored 4 touchdowns the last 3 games. So but here's his problem. He's got horrible matchups.
He really does.
He's got Seattle and Chicago the next 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
So you might want to look away from there. But going back, we talked about Jordy Nelson or about Derek Carr going up. Like, Jordy Nelson's averaged 8 catches over the last few games. So
another guy, Bruce Ellington on the Lions. Kenny Golladay, I don't know what the hell has happened to Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay might be one of these guys. Did he get hurt in the game? Or did he just disappear?
I think he disappeared.
Okay, if he's hurt, different. But he might be one of these guys that is best as a 1A instead of a 1 or a 1B. Like, maybe that's the case. But Ellington, PPR monster. And, I mean, Stafford's got to have someone to throw to.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. What about tight ends or anything?
I mean, Ian Thomas is still only 25% owned.
Yeah.
He's really no brainer.
Right.
I mean, if you need a tight end, the problem is the tight end class is so top heavy right now. So if you're really struggling,
Evan Ingram though, after last week and no Odell, like that, I don't know off the top of my head what his percent owned is, but
he's really low percent owned, but he's got a tough matchup.
He got the Jets. Oh, no, he didn't have the Jets. That's who Houston plays. Who does the Giants play? Oh, they play Tennessee. And Tennessee crushes tight ends. So, shit. I mean, it is bleak. It is bleak.
Yeah, there's not much out there at the tight end position. And then if you really do need a quarterback, I mean, this is up. Dak's over 50% owned now, but if he's available, go out there and get him. But Baker gets Cincy this week, so if you can get Baker Mayfield, he's still under 50% owned.
Wait, no, he doesn't. He
gets Cincy in 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Oh my God!
2 weeks.
For the fantasy championship.
Derek Carr gets Cincy this week. That's what it is.
There it is. I'm about to say, man, Mayfield against Cincinnati. Oh my God, yes, that is. I'm excited. Is that going to be an autoplay for DFS? Like, we'll just start with Baker and that week.
You should, but the way I was looking at it, like Cam's my quarterback. He's been struggling. I know Baker gets Cincinnati. I ended up putting in a waiver claim. Probably shouldn't say this on the air, but putting in a waiver claim for Dak because he was available just because I like what he's done recently. But if that doesn't go through and Baker's still out there, I'll be picking up Baker Mayfield and considering playing him against Cincy.
Yeah. I'm of the same mind. Like in my home league where I'm in the championship, like I got Russell Wilson. I want to roll with Russell for the first week, but depending on, especially with the matchup, if Baker's there, that matchup, or if I'm down, like depending on the situation, I'd have zero problem moving on from Russell Wilson for a guy like Dak or Mayfield on the waiver, and maybe Josh Allen, just because the running is so out of this world. You just don't get that. Anything else? I mean, it's so dry.
I don't have any other guys.
It's brutal. It is brutal. But anyway, let's get back to our top 5 list. Our number 2 takeaway of Week 14. What do you got, Will?
Patrick Mahomes has secured the MVP, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. That comeback, that 4th and 9 play, and Drew Brees not playing as well. I see it. I don't see there's any way that Mahomes doesn't win it at this point.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the performance against the Ravens, it was pretty awesome to see a young guy respond that way. And what I liked was we saw some emotion from him. He's very even-keeled, very I don't want to say mellow, but that's a guy you're confident. It was awesome to see him get hyped about making big plays when it mattered. I think that's great for the rest of the team to see too. My number 2 takeaway, I alluded to this earlier. Defense and running the ball will never die.
Yep.
What did we see this weekend? We saw the Ravens go into the Chiefs and be in it the entire game for all 4 quarters and the overtime, because if you can run the ball and play defense, you shorten the game, you limit the explosive offense's opportunities, and it's not as if these offenses are always going to score. What makes these dynamic offenses great is when they're playing an average offense or a pass-heavy offense, and they're getting extra possessions.
Yep.
When they have extra possessions, that's when they're really good. But if you limit them, like the Cowboys did the Saints, like the Ravens did the Chiefs, like you have a shot. And we just saw on Sunday night, if you have a really good defense, you can shut down an offense coming into your home stadium. Like, I just don't understand. Like, why are people so quickly to jump to, running the ball doesn't matter, defense doesn't matter, running backs don't matter? Like, what is the point? Like, are you just trying to be first with a hot take? Like, you're just wrong. Like, yeah, at the extreme ends, yeah, for the Chiefs it doesn't matter, but the Saints are built on the run game and they're a dynamic offense. I don't get why people are so quick to dismiss like defense doesn't matter, like running back doesn't matter. Like, are you out of your mind? Clearly it matters.
You talk about the teams, the 3 hottest teams in the NFL, and I know they lost this week, but Baltimore, who's made a commitment to the run, Dallas, who pounds the clock, and Seattle. Think about that. I mean, those are the hottest teams in football right now. I know, like, obviously New Orleans and KC, but I'm kind of pushing them aside.
Yeah.
But those teams...
Of the next tier, like, those are the best teams.
Yes.
So, man... Yeah, just defense and running the ball, it's never going to die. It doesn't matter what the rule changes or whatever happens in the NFL in the future. That's never – if you can be good at that, it's never going to die. But let's get into our predictions. One positive, one negative prediction about the NFL. Will, kick us off with your positive prediction.
I've just got kind of one prediction.
Okay.
It's kind of
double-sided,
and negative. But I've got the Eagles beating the Rams this week.
I love it.
And Philadelphia is going to keep their playoff hopes alive. Rams falter again. I haven't had faith in Philly all year, but for some reason, I've just got them kind of coming alive. I think they see the window to possibly get into the playoffs, and they do have an MVP caliber quarterback, and he's going to find a way to get it done.
They're missing the offensive coordinator bad, though. Missing them bad. I like that one. I would love to see the Colts beat the Rams. I don't want everything to be so concrete and straightforward. Like, that's when it's most fun is when it's chaotic. My number one, excuse not my number one, but my positive prediction is Colts are going to the playoffs. They're in great position at 7-6. What do we say? Like, they're going to have to win a game they shouldn't win.
They did it.
They did it. And if they win out, that would be incredible to go. Well, 9 or 10. If they won out, it'd be 10-6 because they're 7-6 right now.
7-6, yeah.
Could you 10-6 with Andrew Luck first game back and they looked atrocious last year? Like, I mean, he might make a case for the MVP, but he's not going to win it. But he should get votes. He really should if they finish 10-6. That would
I don't
be
think
unreal.
he will because just from the
even at 10-6,
just the interception in the
the highs and lows.
You know what I'm saying? Like the interception category in the statistics, I just think it's going to be ttoo high. That's going to keep him out of it.
Okay.
But I don't think it should keep him out of it.
If we're looking at performance, oh my God, like the guy's clearly a top 5. He's clearly a top 5 quarterback, and that's we can have that argument in another podcast, but it's unreal how good that guy is. And then my negative one is, don't fool yourself. Derek Carr is not finishing that contract with the Raiders. And I said not finishing the contract because you brought up a good point. You go, well, do they hold on to him and try to suck again for Tua or for another quarterback prospect coming out the following year? And then you know what? I think that's actually on the table when you have a 10-year job security like Gruden. You have the ability to make long-term plays like that, and that could very well happen. But he's not finishing that contract with the Raiders. Like, McKenzie's gone. All McKenzie's guys, Mack and Cooper, they're all gone. And Carr is going to be just the next one in that list. To me, it's almost a foregone conclusion.
I have to see where it plays out because he's establishing some value back. So I don't know. I agree, and it would be nice to start with like just from completely scratch in Vegas. But man, the way he's playing right now, I think they're going to see some backlash if they just dump him.
Yeah, but I mean, they dumped.
I know it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter.
And it's weird because like man, they dumped Mac. Like, oh, I don't know how they come back from that. They come back from that by dumping Cooper. Like, it's just, I don't know if that even.
Those are the three best players.
I don't know if it's even on their radar. Like, can we get over losing this guy? So I don't know. But hey, you know what? I actually didn't announce this at the beginning of the show. This is the last seasonal edition of the Suck My DFS podcast. You know, we don't do start sit. We don't do a whole lot of that stuff. So it would just be us talking about nothing, really talking more about football in general. And you know what? We're too busy for that shit. The holidays are coming up. We will ride out DFS till the end of the season. That is guaranteed. But this is the last seasonal edition of the Suck My DFS podcast. So let's recap this last top 5.
Number 5, Kirk Cousins doesn't have it. Number 4, questioning the Patriots coaching in the Miami Miracle. Think they made a lot of mistakes throughout that ball game. Number 3, I got a lot more faith in the Bears to win the Super Bowl than I do the Rams. Number 2, Mahomes has secured the MVP of the league. Number 1 for me, and you touched on it earlier with Big Ben. But what's happened to the Steelers, man? I know they lost Connor going into this last week, but 3 straight losses after they really got on a roll. I completely expect it to be 4 straight now with the Patriots coming to town. I don't like the way they're going about the game.
They're going to back into the playoffs.
That's what's going to happen, and then they're going to lose in the first round.
Oh, I mean, Chargers have already gone in. I actually think that the Steelers are a worse matchup for the Chargers. I would rather the Chargers play New England. But, I mean, maybe the Chargers, get lucky and get to play the 4th, gets to play, the AFC South champion.
Here's the thing. You can just pin your ears back and go after Big Ben and create turnovers.
Yeah.
Because he's going to throw the ball 50 times, and now he's banged up.
Yeah.
So
in classic Big Ben fashion. It's almost. I said it last week. He's almost due for an injury.
I don't know what they were thinking, by the way. If he could come back into that game, why he didn't come back in earlier.
Because Dobbs looked not good. I mean, nobody looks good in relief, really.
No,
but Dobbs, though.
But he was 2 for 9 with a pick.
Oh, God. Yeah, just not good.
So I'm back to being down on the Steelers. I was way down, then way up. No, way back down.
There it is. Hey, I'll review my top 5 for you. Number 5 takeaway. Where are the beat reporters? Nobody's reporting injuries. Nobody's reporting things that they're even seeing. It's really doing us a disservice. Gives you a tremendous edge if you just watch the games. That's it. Number 4, Saints have to stop messing around with these ancillary marginal players. Feature your studs and put teams away. Number 3, we never should have doubted Baker Mayfield, a guy who was overlooked in high school and college and then, ascends all the way to the number 1 pick. Should not have doubted that guy. Just really should not have. Number 2 takeaway, defense and running the ball is never going to die, as illustrated by the Ravens and the Bears this weekend. And then number 1, the AFC is going to look a lot different next year. I think next year is the year where Pittsburgh falls off, New England falls off. I think the Chargers, depending on Rivers, his status, the Chargers might be out of it too next year. And these other powers you've seen, Denver making the playoffs, Baltimore, it's gonna look like this. Here's gonna be the contenders in the AFC. It's gonna be the Chiefs, potentially the Chargers if Rivers stays the way he's playing, the Browns, the Colts, and the Texans. It's gonna be those 4 or 5 teams really vying for the Super Bowl and for the AFC Championship. And I'm excited for that. I'm, as a football fan and someone who has 10 years that they can actually recall and talk about, I'm excited to see something different.
I think the Ravens will be there too.
You think so? Depending on how they build around Lamar.
Flacco's gone.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that everything's going to work out.
No,
now you have to build around Lamar Jackson, and that has its limitations. And I just don't know how quickly they do that.
I think the fact that they've done it mid-year and he's gone 3-1 as the start, they completely changed the offense for him.
Yeah.
And they've gone 3-1 and should be 4-0.
They could very easily be 4-0. I just think that given you give these teams an off season to look at this tape, and now it's going to be 6 games. I think that's where the problem's going to be.
I guess it's more hope for me than really a ton of faith, just because I love the fact that they're doing something differently from the rest of the NFL,
right,
and that it's having success.
Yeah.
And it's running the ball. It's not just lining up in the gun and passing 40 times.
Yeah,
60
exactly.
times, not 40.
Yeah.
60.
60 depending on the team, yeah. Hey, well, that's going to wrap up this edition, the seasonal edition of the Suck My DFS podcast. We'll be back this week to break down the main slate on FanDuel. Don't forget, Will, Saturday games are here. We got even less options on the main slate. Come on. We'll see you on Thursday.